Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, real estate fans, avid listeners alike, and great people on your way to church this Sunday morning. Thanks so very much for tuning into Real Estate Radio. My name is Erik Hatch, and I am delighted to be your host all morning long. I'm a proud worker over at Hatch Realty, and if you want to stop by and see us, well, hot diggity dog, we have a new office, and we would love for you to come and see us. Not quite yet. We're still finishing up, but if you're driving down on 42nd Street in between the Zoo and JL Beers, two of my favorite spots in town, you're going to go ahead and you'll find Hatch Realty located at 4215 31st Avenue South in Fargo. In fact, just a couple of days ago, our sign went up so you can figure out where we're at, just south of Bethany Homes there. But hey, at the top of the hour, I'd be foolish not to talk about how cold it's getting. Yes, this is not a weather broadcast. This is not a weather show, but instead, we know that the weather here in Fargo certainly affects the real estate climate. As it gets colder, here is what we're going to see. Less houses will come on the market, and we know that to be true because historically, less people put their homes on the market, which means that inventory is going to remain fairly low. Now, if we paid attention to Melissa Soblik on air last week, she talked about how in the Fargo-Moorhead community, we're adding about 4,000 people a year. That's a grand total of how many people we're adding is 4,000 a year. That means that the housing demand is going to increase. So this winter, if you're thinking about selling your home, I actually think it's the opportune time because there's going to be more buyers still looking and you'll have less competition because less people are putting their home on the market. So let's capitalize on that opportunity. The first step you should do is to find out what your home is worth. We have a free home valuation kit of a sort. You just need to go to our website at livefargomoorhead.com to find out what your home is worth. Or, of course, give us a call at 701-369-4839. But first things first, let's find out what's happening with real estate news this week. Friends, I am elated to have in studio with us the one and only president of Minnesota State University Moorhead. We have the wonderful Dr. Ann Blackhurst with us. So good morning, Ann.
Good morning.
Am I comfortable calling you Ann, or should I call you Madam President? Or
absolutely, I much prefer Ann.
Okay, well, I may slip out of Madam President every once in a while because you are doing such a bang-up job over at MSUM. The listening audience maybe knows who you are, they maybe don't. Give us a snapshot of who you are and what you do over at MSUM.
I am the 11th president of Minnesota State University Moorhead, and I've been president since July 1st of 2014, so I'm just starting my second year. I was at MSUM prior to that, serving as the provost and academic vice president. So I've been a member of the Fargo-Moorhead community for a little over 4 years now.
So does this feel like home now?
It does. Actually, it has felt like home since the moment I moved to the community.
Really? Well, I know that you're a marathon runner, and I once ran a marathon too. It was on a bet, and there was an ice cream truck in front of me the whole time, so I just kept running. But I know that you're a marathon runner. Did you come to Fargo because it's that flat and it's just easier to run?
Well, every marathon runner has the dream of running that perfectly flat, fast course, and the Fargo route is definitely that. In fact, I managed to qualify for the Boston Marathon in the 2014 Fargo Marathon.
Which is incredible. To qualify for Boston, you have to be the best of the best.
Well, you have to run fast enough for your age and gender to meet a qualifying time, and it's pretty rigorous.
I could be a 130-year-old man or woman, and I still wouldn't qualify today. So props to you for such a dedicated skill.
Thank you.
And with you in the Fargo-Moorhead area now, you've chosen to work at MSUM. Why?
You know, it's not an exaggeration to say I fell in love with Moorhead and with MSUM when I came to campus to interview.
Really?
And it's a hard thing to put my finger on. I hear a lot of our students say this too, that they just felt that something when they walk onto campus. They can't really describe it, but it felt like home to me. It was partly the people I met. It was partly the beauty of the campus, the way the faculty so obviously care about our students and our students themselves. We have awesome students, and all of that just attracted me to the position, and I haven't had a moment's regret.
And you're changing things up, aren't you? I mean, it's not just jumping on board and coming into MSUM and just keeping the ship moving forward. You're changing some things. What in the world are you shaking up?
Well, this is a really interesting time in higher education. A lot is changing in the higher ed environment. And of course, this is a very competitive environment here in Fargo-Moorhead. It's great to be part of a community with so many higher ed institutions, but that has its challenges as well.
Right.
So we can't rest on our laurels. We have to continue to add new programs, develop our facilities. We're working really hard on our campus culture so that we're attractive to the best and brightest faculty and staff. And just generally pushing for innovation and making sure that we're doing everything we can to be attractive to students.
And you touched on something, and it's one of my favorite buzzwords of a sort, and that's culture. And for me, as a business owner, and you as somebody who runs a major higher education institution, culture is such a core value. So what are the most important things of MSUM's culture? What are you focusing on to make sure that this energy is moving in the right direction with the right people?
Well, the first thing we did was refocus on our purpose. And it might seem obvious, but we spent a lot of time reflecting on the question, why are we here? What do we do better than anyone else in the higher ed business? And our answer to that question is, we are here to transform the world by transforming lives. And I find
Say that again. That was sexy right there. Yeah.
Our purpose is to transform the world by transforming lives.
I love that.
So that idea that we provide a transformative educational experience, it's not transactional, it's not about students just collecting credits until they graduate. We really intend to make meaningful change in our students' lives so they go out and make meaningful change in our world. And virtually all of our faculty and staff find that very inspiring. That's why they became educators.
Yeah.
And beyond that, we've also really worked on defining our core values as an institution. And for us, those values are grit, humility, and heart.
Really great stuff, Ann. And you may wonder, why in the world would we have the president of MSUM on Real Estate Radio? And the reason why, I think, is pretty simple. What's happening in this community, especially on an educational level, impacts all of us on a real estate and a value-driven level on so many different ways. So, Ann, I'm hoping we can keep you around after the break here. I want to ask a ton of questions about what's happening on campus and what we need to know more about. So will you stick around, hang out with us?
Absolutely.
Perfect. I told you were going to anyway, so it's more of a lead-in question. Hey, those of you listening, we want you to go to livefargomoorhead.com, find out what your home is worth, and even find out how you can save almost $500 on your next real estate transaction. This is Real Estate Radio with Erik Hatch. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio. As always, I'm your host, Erik Hatch, and in studio with us, we still have the wonderful, the always dressed in red, Dr. Ann Blackhurst of Minnesota State University, Moorhead. So, Ann, we're going to keep talking about the great things that are happening at MSUM. I shared with you a story off air of a new client I have who went to school for MSUM and is now a physician. And I went, what? Because I didn't know that there was like a pre-med program at MSUM. What am I missing? What don't I know about your great institution that I should?
Well, as we were talking about before we started the show, we've always been known for certain programs at MSUM, and I think the best example of that is education. In fact, we started...
And my wife is a teacher and got her education on education with her education at MSUM.
Yep.
Yeah,
I don't know for sure the number of teachers in the region that were products of MSUM, but it's a very, very high number. And of course, we started as a normal school preparing teachers. That was our initial purpose as an institution. We've always had incredibly strong programs in business, especially finance and accounting. We've always been known for the arts, and that's true even today as the arts are changing and evolving. So we have the only 4-year film production program in the region, really strong program in graphic design, graphic arts, animation, media arts, and so arts programs that have evolved with the times. And we've always had really strong programs in the sciences, and I don't know that that's been known outside of the walls of MSUM the way that it should be. We have many, many pre-medical programs, and they've been very successful at preparing students.
That's exciting to hear. Not only is MSUM putting out people who are brilliant in the arts and education, but in the sciences too. What an eclectic blend of people you have. By the way, I love that you have an emphasis in graphic design, because we're looking for a graphic designer right now. So I hope you share this on campus and let them know that Hatch Realty is looking for a new graphic designer. But in all sincerity, there's a super incredible opportunity for people who go to your institution to get a job afterwards. Your job placement is through the roof. Tell me more about that.
It is. almost 97% of our students get a job in their field or are accepted to graduate school or medical school or,
97%.
97%.
That's asininely high.
It's amazing.
Oh my gosh, what's the secret in the sauce there? Why is it such a high number? Because I'd imagine that nationwide that number is oodles and oodles farther under the 97%.
I think it's partly our faculty and the way that they work with our students. They mentor our students. They see themselves as coaches. They're very involved in students' career preparation and planning throughout their program. And so our students are really well prepared when they go out to interview for positions. We also are strongly encouraging our students to have an internship or a co-op experience or some other applied learning experience while they're in school. In fact, our goal is for 100% of our students to have that kind of experience, and employers really appreciate that as well.
And I'd imagine, as you talked about the changing field of higher education in our first segment, that then plays into wanting to give them hands-on, tangible experience in the workforce so that they're not just thrown to the wolves. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes, absolutely. And, we meet regularly with business leaders. We host breakfasts several times a year with business leaders in the area and ask them, how are we doing preparing our students for your particular field, and what can we do better? And as you look forward 10 or 15 years, what do we need to be thinking about now so that we're developing the curriculum and other programs that you're going to need for your employees? And so we really do try to make sure our students are as prepared as possible, and that applied kind of hands-on experience is incredibly important.
Again, those of you just tuning in, Dr. Ann Blackhurst of Minnesota State University Moorhead in studio with us, and we just have a couple minutes left, and I'm dying to know, you get to travel and talk about the Fargo-Moorhead community all the time. What's the story you're telling? Because I think it's an exciting one.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I'm a Moorhead resident myself. I live just a few blocks from campus. And one of the things I really appreciate is that sort of small town feel of Moorhead. It's very walkable. My grocery store, my bank, my drugstore, my florist are all within, a few blocks of my house.
You have your own florist?
I do.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone in Moorhead has their own florist.
Holy cow, you and I are different. That's great though.
So there is that element, that strong sense of kind of small town community. But then, of course, we're also this very vibrant metro area. And Moorhead especially is growing really, really rapidly. I mean, you can see that when you look at the enrollment in the Moorhead schools and project out what our population is expected to be in the future. And so it's this great combination of small town, strong sense of community, and very vibrant, growing metro area.
People have always asked me when I step outside the area to describe Fargo or to describe Moorhead, and it's like we're a bunch of suburbs without the big city. It seems to be communal. It seems to have every amenity that you need, and yet not the hassle, the pollution, the struggles that maybe bigger cities face.
Yeah. I think that's really accurate. And one thing I always talk about is the fact that there are almost 35,000 college students in our community. If you think about other communities of our size, Boulder or other places where there would be 35,000 college students, they'd be emphasizing that. They'd be touting that. And I think we need to do that too.
Yeah, I appreciate your passion. I love what you're doing for the university and especially for the community of Fargo-Moorhead. The future looks bright for MSUM graduates. And I'm a bison, and I'm still going to say that because I think what you're doing is a bang-up job. So, Ann, thank you so very much for your dedication to this community and young people especially.
Thanks, Eric.
You bet. Those of you who are tuning in, we want you to stick around. In the meantime, go to livefargomoorhead.com and find out what your home is worth. Oh my gosh, the show has completely gone so quickly that we're almost out of time. There's a few things I want to wrap up with before we do send you on your way to your next activity. The first is this. If you want to shop for some houses, there's a couple ways to do so. There's, of course, the old school method of open houses and driving around neighborhoods to look at signs and then maybe calling that realtor, and that can be a bit of an antiquated model. Instead, go to livefargomoorhead.com. You can sign up to look for houses. You can take a look at everything that's on the market, and we can even set you up so that you can see new houses that come on the market the moment that they hit for sale. What a great opportunity for you if you're looking to find that gem. You don't want to be the last one to respond because you won't be able to get it. Now, of course, if you live in a house right now, I always want to let you know that your house is probably appreciating in value. You may be sitting on more cash than you ever thought. And if you want to consider refinancing, if you want to consider moving on up, or if you need to downsize and consolidate some debt, heck, you could even move up and consolidate some debt, we should really consider finding out what your home is worth. The easiest way we do so is, of course, go to livefargomoorhead.com, fill out the home valuation little link that's on our website, and we'll get in touch with you to get a very specific idea. Now, know that when you fill out that link, it's going to give you a 10,000-foot view of what parameters you have in your house to give us a rough estimate. But if we want to get specific, we probably should talk. Know this as well, as we got to keep timelines in order. It's mid-October right now, and if we decide to get your house moving, and if we decide to get it on the shelves, it might take a few weeks for you to get your house ready. The average house in Fargo sits on the market for 50 or so days, but the median is under 20 days right now. So it's going to take a few weeks possibly for your home to sell. The higher priced it is, the more difficult we may find that task. And then once your home does sell, it's going to sit in escrow, or the pending period, for another 35 to 65 days, give or take. So you have some time ahead of you before you ever officially have to move. So let's get the conversation started right now. Let's get rolling. 701-369-4839, or go to livefargomoorhead.com to use it for every last shopping need you have, or of course to find out what your home is worth. And that's it for today's show. Thanks very much, friends. You've been listening to Real Estate Radio this morning on KFGO, the Mighty 790.